Okay. It says we're live. So, welcome from the crossroads of America, a talk show about guns, politics, or anything that crosses my mind. We'll answer questions from the audience, put them in the chat, or email me at rickslifeasiseeit@gmail.com or spottedrick@gmail.com. I got a Patreon page. I've got a thing that you can do by PayPal if you want. And the other information is all down there below in the info section of the thing here. So I want to say, who have I got in the room? First in was Grim90, then Gun Loving Grandpa, 2 Live Moo, Jason Stewart, Guns and Barbecue. Who else we got? Kingpin's in there. So at the moment, some people are starting to trickle in. At the moment on my panel, I have Guns and Barbecue. How you doing?
Doing good. Thank you for having me.
All right. Then we got the one and only Kingpin.
Hey, Rick. Thanks for having me, brother.
No problem. And, Raphael has just joined us in the chat. Good to see you from down there in Florida. I think he's around the Miami area, I believe. So, that's good. They were saying I was going to. Sorry, somebody just sent me a message, and so it threw me off. All right. What we're gonna? I mean, my topic was I got nothing, but what are we going to talk about? I mean, you guys got anything you want to bring up? I was going to talk about a little bit about the CNR from this morning's chat. If anybody's listening. I mean, I applied for one, and all the ATF are interested in is your money. Because when you get the application, you fill out your name and address, then the next section is how you're going to pay for it. Then after you fill all that out, you drop down, then it wants all that other little stuff they ask for. Well, anyway, I sent it off. I mean, then they send me my license, and you got to make copies of it because normally I noticed when I bought my firearm, I had to send them a copy of my license. So when you get your original license, make copies. They do it. You can get an electronic copy from the online, and so you can just print them that way if somebody wants them. If you got to send a hard copy or send it by internet. You do have to log every gun that you purchase. You have to log it in this logbook they give you. I got one right here. Actually, it's a personal firearms record. It's just a piece of paper folded in half, really. But you got to put what guns you buy in here, and if you you can sell these firearms. But you got to log it on here. But you can't buy and sell it like a business. The only gun I bought was a Polish P64, delivered straight to my house. Yes, I had to sign for it. I think UPS delivered it, if I remember correctly. I think it was I can't remember. It was UPS or FedEx. I can't remember which one, but I had to sign for it. And it doesn't. I don't think they know what it is because it comes in a, unmarked box. But you have to fill this out, and if I wanted to sell it today, I can sell it down the gun. I don't have to sell it to another CNR license. I can sort of like if I was going to buy a gun from the FFL, I could trade it in, but I have to put it who I sold it to, name and address and everything in his record. It's what it is. And the only downside to having this is the ATF having this license. The ATF can come in your house anytime they want to look at this if they want to. I've never heard it happening, but they have that right. So if you don't want the ATF in your house, don't get one.
Before we keep going, I think we should let anybody that's out there in the chat know who are wondering, what is a CNR if they didn't catch this morning's chat, which I didn't catch it, but haven't gone to school for gunsmithing. I know what you're talking about, but it's a collectors and relics federal firearms license.
Correct. That's what it is. I think they could. Was it class 3? Isn't that what it's one of those classes. I mean, and it doesn't work on, regular firearms. You're not an FFL dealer. So
yeah, it's only for things that would really be considered a relic or collector quality.
I don't know what to do with it, but when you first get it, like when I renewed it, they send you this package that has everything in it, and you get a book. I mean, I think this morning's show on Caliber Corner, he pulled it up online. It is. I mean, it's about 100 pages of nothing but all the weapons that are CNR'd. And there's some cool ones there, but there's I mean, some of those they list are awful pricey too. But do
you care if I ask what it costs to get your CNR, Rick?
$30.
Oh, that's it. I didn't realize it was that little.
Oh yeah, it's good for that's for 3 years.
Is it the same $30 to renew, or do they give you a little discount to renew?
No, same price to renew. I renewed mine. I had to change the address on mine. It threw them for a loop because when they sent it back to me, they said this license is not the same address as where you live. And I said, well, if you read the application, I filled out my residence had changed. And they go, oh yes, it did. We missed that. So they sent me another license. They gave me an electronic one first, then the real paper one came in the mail about a week later. So I mean that's all it is. But I said I sent that in. Here you go. Where I was going about all their interests is the ATF or the government just interested in the money. I remember I mailed that in on a Monday, and the $30 came out of my bank account on Thursday. It still took about another 3 weeks for me to get my license, but that's how fast they took the money. So that was it. But I mean, normally most firearms that are over 50 years old, most of them, not all of them, start becoming CNR eligible, which I think is pretty cool. So, but that's about it, really.
So also, one of the other things, though, is in that book, any firearms that you had previously to getting your CNR, don't you have to include those on your CNR list?
What, CNR weapons?
Any that you had previously to purchase or getting your CNR license?
No.
No, you don't have to include those. I thought you did.
No. But you have to list them if you get rid of them. It's a weird one. It's the same thing. Now, say I let my license lapse and I don't renew it anymore, but say a year after I let my license lapse, I go trade in that Polish P64 I have to log it in this log that I got rid of it. And the best way, now if you've got a bunch of them, I said right now I only got one. I mean, why I don't buy more, I have no clue. I think money might have something to do with it. But but if you get rid of it and say you got 4 or 5 of them or 10 of them in your safe, to be on the safe side, in here on the last line, it says sold or transferred to. Just put yourself down there that you transferred them to yourself.
Midnight had a question. He said, is it 50 years from the original date of production? Like, how do you count the 50 years? Like, how does that work?
50 years from when that firearm was made, I believe.
The specific firearm or that line of firearms? Like, for instance, if you get a Smith & Wesson EZ and it was made yesterday and you bought it the next day, that's a 2-day-old gun. But if you get one that was made 8 months ago, does the date of the specific gun fall into it, or is it the very first time it was manufactured?
Now you're asking me. Hang on. Let me have a look. Let's see if I got it in this book.
Yeah, I was actually going to use the 1911 as the example and say, because you could obviously get a Colt 1911 from 1911, or you could get one that's, been made today.
Yeah, see, I mean, here's all the list of the guns. So, I mean, it's oh, Jesus Christ. I'm trying to think.
Do they send out an updated list yearly there, Rick, or
no, not really. They haven't ever sent me anything except the like when I first got it and when I renewed it, and it had some updates in it on the second one.
So, in other words, the only thing they ever send you is a bill.
Okay, here you go. What are curios and relics? Under Regulation 27 of the CFR 478.11, CNR include firearms which are of a special interest to collectors by reason of some quality other than associated with firearms intended for sport and use or offense or defensive weapon. So you recognize as a CNR, firearms must fall within one of the following categories. Firearms which were manufactured at least 50 years prior to the current date, but not including replicas thereof. So from the date of manufacturer is what it is.
So,
but even if it's over 50 years old, some of them don't fall under CNRs. Because I'm having a look here, and if I remember correctly.
So really, like that Uberti that you got wouldn't qualify as a CNR because it's a replica.
Yes. But then okay, the Cope single action army second generation revolvers having certain serial numbers fall under it, and some don't. I'm just looking at this. Not okay. Certain. There's only 2 models of Colt Model 1911s in here. You know what I'm saying? So it's not every gun that's 50 years old or above. It's only certain ones. Why? I don't know. I didn't get any. I mean, I'm not really a collector. I just got it because somebody said you can get one. So I to be honest, truth, as everybody, I don't know if everybody knows, I've got 8 CCWs. And I got the license just along with the collection of the CCWs, to be honest with you. That's how it all started. I went and took a course to get qualified for, I think it was Florida and Utah or something. Some of those states you had to do a little shooting test. And this instructor up in Rhode Island, you would hold a course every sort of like 60 to 90 days where you could go there. You have to sit there for 8 hours listening to all this stuff, but it qualified you for 6 CCWs, non-residents around the state, around the country. And That's how I got into it. And in the package was this CNR license application. So I just filled it out and sent it in. That's how it all started.
So do you think having the Relics license or do you think that would hold any weight at all if you went for like an SOT or another type of NFA license, where they pretty much don't care about that stuff?
And they really don't care about it. I don't think, But I mean, there's even some. I have noticed, like when I've been looking at Gun Broker and stuff at some of their CNRs they have listed. Then you start reading some of the details, and some FFLs will not even ship it, even though it's a CNR. They will not ship it with a CNR license, even though I'm authorized to accept it at my house. Some FFLs won't even ship it to your house. They will only ship it to another FFL. I don't know if that's legal or not, but that I've read that in a few of those licenses there. So, that's about all I know about them, really. But I said, yeah, go on.
Oh, I was going to say to Kingpin there that I could see it helping with some other federal firearms licenses, only on the fact that they could come in, look at your paperwork, make sure you're logging everything correctly, and doing everything in that sense. And they could say, all right, well, at least he's doing that correctly. But other than that, there's so many other hurdles that you've got to jump through when you're applying for the other firearms licenses, just from a legal standpoint. My local shop, back when he opened, I was going to help him with some stuff because he was looking for an extra gunsmith hand to give him some help when he needed it. And I was talking to him about, startup and all that. And he said he had $2,500 just in legal fees, getting all the paperwork squared away for his FFL and dealing with stuff with the chief of police in our hometown, and because they've got to say, okay, we know that you're doing this, but with zoning, and there's a lot of BS with the other ones.
Yeah. It's definitely harder to get the other licenses, if you want to be a firearms dealer. So, I don't want that hassle. So there we go. I got another thing. Since we're talking about guns, I know with the ammo shortage that's happening, and everybody's talking about reloading, but certain reloading things are becoming out of stock now too. So if you haven't already got it, I think it might be hard to get started. I mean, why? I mean, like if you go to like Lee Precision, that's the setup I have. You go to their website, everything is out of stock. Now, do they fall under that thing where everything had to close down, or do they fall under part of the firearm industry that were allowed to stay open? I think that's where a lot of these problems come in. That some of these places shut down and couldn't reopen. So I'm not sure. That's what I'm thinking.
Yeah, I'm not sure. And the thing is, I've watched some tours of these places that do a lot of the reloading, such as Lee. I don't know if I've actually watched one on Lee. And the thing is that they work with minimal employees. I mean, a dozen probably, because everything's machine automation. So I don't see why they'd have to shut down, because social distancing or any crap like that shouldn't really be an issue when you're talking about a big factory filled with machines and you've got, a dozen, maybe in a larger plant, 2 dozen people working. And at least from what I've seen in my local area, there hasn't been that big of a pinch. If I go into any gun shops, they're normally pretty well stocked up on firearms and ammunition. I haven't seen that ammo shortage that everybody's talking about, and I feel fortunate because I can just go in, and if I want to get some 9mm or 10mm or 44 mag, whatever the heck I want, I go in, tell my local shop this is what I need, and the one I go to normally right now, he's not even limiting me on the amount of boxes I can buy.
Yeah, I mean, the last time I was in the gun shop was when I picked up my Uberti. How long ago was that? A couple of months ago? I mean, I haven't been there, I haven't been back since, but then, his shelves were loaded to the max with everything. I asked him how he said, good. I said, you're running out of anything? He goes, not yet. So, but then I called him up the other day to find out if they could get hold of the EZ 9mm in the silver. And they said their distributor cannot get hold of them right now.
I'm wondering if that's something with it just being so new that everybody and their mother wants it, and that's why the distributor can't get a hold of it, or if it's just their distributor isn't that great. Because like when I got that 329 PD, I went in, told them I wanted it on a Saturday, and then it was there the following Wednesday. But talking to my local shop, his distributors are awesome. Whenever he needs something, whether it's ammo or firearms, they're keeping them stocked up and good to go.
Yeah. Yeah. Sean Connery says here in the fourth largest city in the country, he lives in Houston, by the way. He said reload supplies are still readily available. Pacific powders may come and go, but most are still around. So
that was something else I was going to mention is maybe it's just something geographically where higher population densities, where you're seeing these new shooters that are coming into the community, buying up, whatever handguns that they can because the things that were going on. Maybe it's just, like I said, geographically happening, but because we have this great communication source of the internet and whatnot, we're hearing about it a lot more, which then in turn makes other people go, oh crap, I need to get down to my local place and get whatever I need bought up, and starts feeling more panic buying. And some places just aren't being hit by it as hard. I'm not sure. I'm just kind of grasping straws now.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, David, echoing the bunny minute name he uses on YouTube here, said some of the distributors I've been talking to have told me they get a 50-foot tractor trailer full of reloading gear in on a Wednesday, and it's all gone by Friday. Half the truck is gone back ordered. So there you go. He says, we are doing a complete reloading series on the Georgia shooting connection, where we're going over from start to finish what a beginner will need to learn how to reload. That's pretty interesting. So anybody wants to check that out, go for it. Yeah. So there you go. That's but as I said, when I lost my train of thought there. I was, my local gun shop had tons of ammo, tons of reload and stuff when I was in there last. And at the moment, I don't need any. I've got enough for what I'm shooting to, to reload. I can get a few hundred more made. I don't have enough to make thousands of rounds, but I got enough to keep me happy. So there we go. All right. Anything else? Anybody else got any topic they want to talk about?
You got any big plans for the rest of your summer? Any events or anything coming up? Any vacation or anything like that coming up?
Who, me?
Yeah.
No. I think at the end of I don't know if it's still going on, but the end of the summer, I think it's around Labor Day. I think that's the last one of the year, isn't it? Or the summer, last vacation day. There's meant to be a family reunion, but I don't know if they're going to hold it this year or not. I haven't heard.
How did the last party you went to go?
When I didn't show up, when I didn't do a show, that went quite well, actually. It wasn't a huge crowd. It was just a few of my cousins there. It went pretty good. Nobody was wearing a mask. Nobody was worried about it. Some of the neighbors came over. We're sitting outside in the backyard. They had a real shady backyard. Not only was it shady, and the thing is, they had big industrial fans blowing too. They had them way back. We had a constant breeze the whole time. It was quite nice sitting out there. And not one alcoholic drink there. I don't drink anyways, people know, but most of my relatives, some of them do, but they don't. I think because the cousin that was holding it, she doesn't believe in it. She's a church goer. So no, there was no beer or anything there, and we all had you don't have to have alcohol to have a good time. I've learned that from being sober.
Yeah, I'm not a big fan of being around people that are drinking. This is just not something I'm all that interested in.
Yeah. I know what I want to talk about. What made me click on it, I don't know. But I was looking at YouTube and came across James Yeager. The bolt rifle is dead. So I clicked on it. I thought he's using clickbait here. And no, he honestly believes that the modern, like the not the AR-15, but the AR-10 is a much better weapon than bolt. He said bolt actions, he said, don't serve a lot of purpose. He goes, I got a safe full of them that are totally useless now, he goes. And I'm thinking, is that true? Do you think bolt action rifles are done? No more? What do you think, Barbecue?
Not a chance. You get a superior lockup with bolt action because of the way the locking lugs lock into the chamber. So you're going to get better gas is put down the barrel. You also don't have a system that is robbing that gas of being used to operate your system. So you're going to get better velocities in general. If the bolt action rifle was dead, military snipers wouldn't be using them.
Yeah. Now he did say, and Sean said it in the chat. That's what made me think about it. He said he can get, like if you're doing you're going for grouping, say with a bolt rifle, you can get a 1-inch group at, I don't know, what do most people shoot those at? He said you can get the same thing or better with a semi-auto now because of the machining is a lot better than what it used to be.
Yeah, the machining's better, but you're still going to lose some velocity. You're still not having that lockup like you do with the bolt action. I don't buy it for a second. There's applications where the semi-auto might be better, but on the same hand, there's applications where the bolt action is what's going to be better. If you pay attention to PRS matches or anything like that, most people are shooting bolt actions. And there's a reason for that, because you're going to get slightly better accuracy, especially out at ranges, you know?
Yeah. I mean, I can't see. I mean, like snipers in the military use bolt action, don't they?
They use both, but primarily their rifle is going to be a bolt action. Every once in a while, and again, it depends on what the guy's duties are, maybe what the mission calls for, things like that, where he might actually have a semi-auto sniper rifle, but primarily everything that I've ever looked up and read into and watched and everything else, it's almost always a bolt action.
Okay. What do you think about it, Kingpin? You think bolt actions are dead? I'm not really into rifles. You know?
No, it's totally true. I mean, what you probably didn't do is you didn't watch the end of the video, because the end of the video was where he showed all of his bolt action guns and said he was going to give each one of them away since they were completely useless to him now, and they were just taking up space. And oh no, he didn't say that because he's a big dummy.
Yeah, I normally don't watch his stuff anymore. I used to when I first was getting into guns, you know. But when you're young in the firearm industry at my old age, you're kind of naive. You start learning who to listen to and who not to, you know. So he's not one I listen to anymore. But,
and another point that could be made is all these precision rifles that are being made. I've actually got the Thompson Center Performance Center long range rifle. That's a bolt action. You got the Ruger Precision rifle. That's a bolt action. Mossberg made one. I don't remember the name of that exactly. That's a bolt action. Savage made one based on their Model 110 action. Again, bolt action. All these precision rifles that are being made, they're all bolt actions. If the semi-autos were so superior, they would make them in the semi-auto platform. And like the Ruger American, the Ruger Precision rifle, they did that on the Ruger American action, but with the way they did it similar to an AR where you could split it. So that would actually lended itself to being semi-auto, but they still went with a bolt action.
Yeah. Rich Wright said, if you want to hunt with a rifle in Pennsylvania, you better have a bolt gun. Semi-autos are illegal to hunt with, unless they changed the law in the last 20 years.
The only thing that I know that you can hunt with a semi-auto is waterfowl and turkey. And the only thing you're using there is a semi-auto shotgun.
That's what I was you said that, I'm thinking, hang on, it would only be a shotgun anyway, you know, because that's what you use for those.
Yep.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Yeah. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know how I got into his subject, but it just struck me. I thought that was kind of crazy. Oh, what was the next thing I was going to mention? I can't remember what it was. It was something to do with shooting. It's gone out of my head, so it couldn't have been that important. All right, I got a question. I'm going on to politics now, since we're halfway through the show or so. But we can always go back to guns. I don't have a problem going back to guns at all. I think I mentioned this the other day. I'm going to mention it again because it seems to be getting more prevalent, and I see a lot of the 2A gun channels doing the same thing. You know, fortunately or unfortunately, Trump is our man for the Republican Party. You know, he's going to win the nomination. I think he's won the nomination or he get the nomination again at the thing. But people are all gun-ho. Trump's going to win in 2020. He's going to wipe the floor of the Democrats in 2020. Well, since the COVID started, we're going to get, well, now we're getting, if he wins in November, you know, he might win in November. I thought, I mean, come on, guys, grow some balls. You know, everybody's sort of like sitting on the fence now. You know, and if he loses, they're all going to say, well, we told you so, that was going to happen. And if he wins, they're going to go, yeah, I knew he would. And I'll think you two-faced motherfucker. You know? So that's my little rant for today.
No, that's all. There's plenty of it out there. I mean, go back to COVID, go back to Russia, go back to any of that kind of stuff. Russia came out and everybody was, oh my God, Trump's a Russian agent. No, he's not. This is a lie. You got the tinfoil hat on. You're riding Trump's balls. And then, sure enough, there's zero evidence that Donald Trump did anything wrong. And then let's move on to the next one. How many wars was he supposed to start? Donald Trump's going to get us all killed. No, he's not. He's actually going to bring soldiers home. He's actually going to stop some of these wars. No, you're swinging from Donald Trump's balls. And then he never started any war and actually brought a bunch of troops home and would have brought more troops home. But then the Senate and the Congress, or the Senate and the House, passed a bill which doesn't let him bring soldiers home from Afghanistan. And then the whole, and whatever other topic, coronavirus, all people talk out their butts so much it makes me sick.
Yeah, but it does me too. But where I was going at, I hear more conservatives starting to talk out their ass like that. It's like they're trying to edge their bets in case he loses.
Well, you said it. They got no balls. They're cowards.
Yeah. So, hey, Clover Tech joined us. How you doing?
Sorry I'm late, Rick. You can dock my pay if you need to.
Can barely hear you.
That better?
Yeah.
I said, sorry I'm late. You can dock my pay if you need to.
No, that's all right. No problem. What's new with you?
Not a lot. I mean, just got back from going to a local gun shop, did a little grocery shopping. Had a rather pleasant experience, honestly, with the gentleman at the grocery store that requested I wear a mask. So,
okay.
Really got me to thinking about, people and how we don't have to really get beside ourselves one way or another. I mean, we can be civil and cordial and all that. But yeah, I walk in and he kind of motioned for me to come over to him. And right away, I'm thinking that's BS because, if you're so worried about catching something, why would you want to invade each other's social distancing space, right? And he said, the company is requesting, that everybody wear a mask. And I said, I appreciate that. I said, but I'm not able to wear a mask. So what would you suggest I do? And he said, well, you're okay then. Just go on, and so have a nice day. And they very nice about it. And so, yeah. No reason to get up in their face and get ugly. There's no reason for them to get up in your face and get ugly.
No, you're right.
I think we can handle this all like grown-ups.
Well, I hope so. I don't know personally. We're starting to hear now how numbers are being fudged all over the country now. So is it as bad as they're saying?
Well, numbers are going to get, but I mean, when you get a situation where the government steps in and is offering money, whether it's with this, whether it's with Social Security, disability, whether it's with Medicaid, Medicare, whether it's with, welfare programs, whatever it is, what is it? Urban Housing and Urban Development, HUD. Anytime you've got government money involved. That money, most people view that money as free money. The more educated person knows that's not true. That comes out of somebody's pocket because the government doesn't produce or sell anything. But there's this perception that that's free money. And so people do what they got to do to get that money. And then with a situation, it was a cocktail brewed to cause this from the start, because you had what happened when all of this started, cough, cough, you had hospitals that were required to pull back. So anything elective, right? Anything that couldn't wait, that wasn't emergency or related to cough, cough, you couldn't do that. Well, for the first time in history, I don't remember in my lifetime, and anybody out there that's older than me, lives in a different part of the country, whatever the case may be, let me know this. But, I've got a lot of people, including my wife, that's in the medical field. And so aunts, uncles, cousins, you name it, right? And I never remember a time when people in the medical field got laid off. And cough, cough happens. They pull back on these hospitals and the regulations and the things they can do. And all of a sudden, they're furloughing and laying off doctors and nurses and medical personnel. I'm like, whoa, this is crazy. I've never seen this before. It's like the whole reason these people went into that field is like, oh, people always get sick. We'll always have a job. Well, not necessarily, apparently. And so when you've got these situations, when you create a situation for a medical institution that you kill off the vast majority of their revenue, the vast majority of any doctor's office, hospital, emergency room, whatever, is elective procedures and stuff. It's not required emergency care and emergency needs. So when you stop that, then on top of that, you offer a way to get money, quote unquote, free money from the federal government. Well, you've starved them for money. Now you've offered them the opportunity. All they've got to do is check a little box on a form somewhere, and they get $14,000 or $15,000 or what it is. Why would they not do that? You're sort of incentivizing and encouraging people to commit fraud in a way. So I guess what I'm saying is there's a lot of blame to go around with that.
Yeah. You got a good point there. Also, I mean, I happened to be changing channels, and I was watching. What was I watching? I was watching some British show on BritBox, and I switched back to regular satellite TV, and my TV automatically starts with Fox for some reason. And why I set it up on Fox, I don't know. But anyway, it always when it resumes, it always resumes on the Fox channel, and I was listening the other day, and they were saying they had some doctor on out of Houston, Texas, saying hospitals are at bursting point right now under this new wave that's coming through. But then I've heard people who are in the medical field say, no, they're not. Mm-mm. So who do you believe?
I believe the person that's standing in the unemployment line because the hospital laid them off. That's who I believe.
Yeah.
There's been plenty of videos that got memory hold, whether it be on Twitter, YouTube here, or whatever, of basically empty hospitals. A guy that I know, his YouTube channel is Mr. 42. He lives right down the street from, I'm not going to tell because he can share that, but one of the major hospitals in New York, the Epicenter Hospital that we all heard about, he went down there and videotaped. There was no one there. And I don't mean no one as in like there was a couple hundred people there. There was no one there as in there was like 4 people there. And YouTube yanked it off the air. There's a couple other videos where people went into these hospitals, these, epicenter spot hospitals. No one's in there. And I worked in hospitals for many, many, many years in different versions and different ways and all up and down Maryland, Virginia, and DC. You can go into a hospital at 3 o'clock in the afternoon or 3 o'clock in the morning, and you're never not going to see a bunch of people there. Now, if you've got a little tiny county hospital that's got like 4 patients, maybe, but no major hospitals ever empty.
Yeah, true. I mean, but even in the height of this epidemic, like in New York, when he got the National Guard to set up all those hospitals in that big center and sent the ship in there. They didn't even goddamn use them. So
Well, if you look at the number, if you look at the number of people that have been tested and have the antibody versus the number of the percentage of people that have it currently and are getting it, right? The spread or whatever.
yeah,
It's a no-brainer. You look at those numbers and you can tell that the vast majority of people had it and never knew it. Right? So why would they go to a doctor or a hospital?
yeah,
And then you can also look, just you mentioned in Florida, they had test kits that they didn't even open. They returned because they didn't use them. All those test kits came up positive. Some guy, and I think I don't know if it was Africa or one of the European nations, tested a guava or a papaya or a kiwi or something like that, and then tested a goat. Sent them in. Both of them came up positive.
There was a testing center here in the news recently, and it was a similar situation. They scheduled people for appointments, and there was a lady that come out. It was on the news because something come up and she could not make her appointment to go get tested. She had to miss it, and a couple days later she gets a call, and they're telling her she tests positive, and she's like, well, that's kind of weird considering that I called you guys and told you that I couldn't make it in and you rescheduled me, right? So not only did they count somebody that didn't even show up for the test as a positive, they were going to test her again later on. So it makes you wonder how many people, not only are they maybe budget numbers just outright, but how many people are they piling a number on? If you're one person, but you get tested 8 times, that's not 8 cases. You know what I mean? That's still only one person.
yeah. What's called it? Echo out there in the chat. We had over 12,000 positive 19 tests yesterday in the state of Florida. I'm living in a hot spot right now, and our hospitals during the quarantine were basically empty. Now they're starting to fill. But even out of those 12,000, how many of them, they're positive, but they don't need to be hospitalized. And we're doing more tests, so you're going to get more positives. If you're testing more people.
Well, what's weird, my wife works for the prison system, and that's one of the worst places. The prison system is one of the worst places for stuff to spread anyway. So it's finally getting to some of the other prisons here in Texas have been pretty bad with it. And it's finally kind of getting to her, the prison she works at now. It's starting to kind of ramp up a little bit there. And yeah, it's I don't know. It's kind of like what you say. I mean, it's one of them situations where even in that environment, it's not as, it's not as bad as it seems. If you look at the number of people versus the number of people that have it versus the number of people in the system itself. But then too, you look at, lost my train of thought there for a second, but one thing that they've kind of noticed is symptoms changing. Like when this first started, they were talking about how you would have really heavy, like flu type symptoms, some respiratory distress potentially going on, fever, high fever for a couple of days, and then you'd have a lingering cough for a while. They're finding out in the prison systems here now that it almost mimics a stomach bug now. It doesn't really have anything even to do with a respiratory thing at this point. It's almost like it's changed. There's a new strain, or it's changed, or it's morphed, or heck, I don't know. Maybe there's some other disease going around at this point. Who knows with it being 2020?
Yeah, true. It is. It's just also they keep going on about the numbers and everything going up, but the actual mortality rate is going down.
The mortality rate was a lie off the break anyway. There's just another case right now which is starting to get a tiny bit of traction, where a guy, we always joked about it at the very beginning, and then it turned out to be true, and Dr. Birx admitted it, so did Dr. Fauci. A guy died from a motorcycle accident the other day, and they put him down as a COVID patient. So with all this stuff, all this nonsense that we know, there's no reason to believe anything that they say at all.
Yeah.
Remember at the beginning. Remember at the beginning, the young kids, after the whole kids went to the beach and everybody was like, "Oh my God, that's crazy! I can't believe those kids were at the beach." Then it was, basically kids don't have to worry about it. Young people that are healthy don't have to worry about it. Now that we're trying to open schools back up, listen to everything they say. All the tests that are coming back and all the concern is switched to people under 35 for some reason because they don't want the schools to open back up.
Yeah. Now that was going to be my next topic. I believe the schools should open up. It's been proven, the science has proven that the young kids are in the lowest group to get this. It's almost nil. 0% of children get this. Now, by all means, let the teachers wear the protective gear if they are afraid of catching it. But, I don't see the point of keeping them closed. Well, I mean, the only thing they're doing, one, is the main thing to me is we got a bunch of idiots now in this country. You're just making them dumber by keeping them out of school.
If the protective gear was so effective, why don't they just, Clover was talking about having, a connection with working in the prison systems. If the mask and all this PPE was so effective against the virus, why not just give all the inmates protective gear instead of releasing rapists? That's just a thought, maybe.
When did you hear that rapists were released? I didn't see anything about that one.
You haven't been watching the news then, because rapists, murderers, all kinds of different people are getting released all over the country. It's happening all over the country. Take about 5 seconds and look it up on the internet, and you'll see.
Yeah, I've watched the news, and I've heard of plenty of petty offenders that are locked up that probably shouldn't have been locked up, but I didn't hear anything about people that are truly a potential danger to society.
No, that's true. Dude, I don't come on here and make outlandish statements just to hear myself talk. I say this kind of stuff expecting that I have that there's evidence to back it up. Like, I didn't just make it up because I want to sound crazy.
I know they've been doing it in New York, releasing some real heavy duty criminals out back into the system.
Then the other thing is, how long have those people done time for? Are they close to their release dates? Are they, or were they just put in there like 2 years ago and should have had 18 years to go?
Who cares?
What do you mean, who cares?
Who cares? Well, I don't. If you got 18 years for raping somebody or stealing a car or whatever, and they let you out in 16 because of COVID, why are they putting business owners in jail because they want social distance? If jail is bad for the bad guys, why are you threatening the good people with not following Dr. Fauci's rules with jail time?
I haven't heard where they're threatening jail time. It's just hefty fines, which I think is ridiculous also.
Oh, I mean, yeah. I mean, to me, this whole COVID thing is bullshit now in this country. I mean, when it first started, yes, it was something but as it turns out, maybe because I haven't been affected and I personally don't know somebody who I physically know has it or had it. So, I mean, I personally think it's been overblown, overstated. Just let it run its course. People die every day.
Yep. I was going to say, part of the issue is we were immediately listening to China because we all know China is so truthful. And then we listen to the World Health Organization and the CDC, and then we find out that the World Health Organization is in China's pocket. They're just echoing whatever the heck China wants them to echo. And now, like people would put it on Trump, say, well, Trump was doing this or he's doing that. He was only giving information that he was being given. He's not a doctor. He's not, all he can do is stand there and say, this is what I'm being told.
Yeah. Yeah.
But honestly, I did the math on it because last I heard the death rate is 0.3%. So you're talking about 1/3 of 1% of people that get this are going to die. So even if every man, woman, and child in the country got this, that's 1 million people that die. Now, granted, don't get me wrong, that's terrible. A death is a death. It's a mother or father, grandparent, child, whatever. But the thing is, not everybody's going to catch it. And those who do, how many are actually asymptomatic? And then are we supposed to tank our entire economy for 1 million people? Is that million that I don't want to say important because it sounds awful, but when we got 329 other million people that were tanking the economy for to try and mitigate some of this, which then what does the death rate become? That it might go up, it might become even less. Then we have the issue of we've already gone through the first wave. Now we're seeing the second wave and all that. At some point, we've just got to open the country back up and let whatever's going to happen, because
That's
obviously it's gonna play out one way or the other. We can't keep doing this. We just open it up, and those who are at higher risk, they need to take more precaution, and that's on them. And if they choose not to, and they get sick, they die, well, then they made that decision. And those who aren't at a high risk and choose not to wear a mask, well, then again, they made a decision. And if they get sick, well, then that was the luck of the draw for them. But we've got to just get everything open back up and let things play out how they're going to play out.
I agree. That's what I've been saying for a couple of months now. Just let it play out. If you want to stay home or you want to wear protective equipment, go for it. But we shouldn't be closing the country down. Everything should be opened back up like it was before, and just go on. I mean, like myself, I don't wear a mask anywhere I go, but I more likely will if I go shopping at Walmart next week, because I think starting Monday, that's their new policy. Everybody's got to have a mask on.
I bet you 1,000 to 1. All you got to do is pull my trick and say I'm not able to wear one, Rick, and you'd be good to go. But here's the thing: I see 2 reasons that somebody would wear a mask. Number one is that you think that it protects you, right? Let's not even get into the nuance of whether it does or not. You think that it does, right? Same way as somebody says Second Amendment and carrying a firearm, you think that may protect you. Cool, go for it. Don't have a problem with it. Same way with the mask. Cool, go for it. Don't have a problem with it. And then the second reason that somebody might wear a mask, I totally get this too, is just convenience, man. If you're in an area where, like I said, I haven't run into people, I've had people request it and whatever, and I've got the stink eye every now and then, of course, and some other stuff, but not anything major. If you live in a place to where it's your job, if you don't wear it, you're going to get fired, or if you catch so much heat that it's just easier to wear it. I don't have a problem. But like I said earlier when I come in, I think we can, regardless, I think we can all be grown ups and civil about the whole ordeal.
Yeah. Oh, I do too. Now, I mean, Echo out in the chat here is going about on how the hospitals are filling up down in Florida and stuff. But okay. But how many of them are actually dying? You know what I'm saying? They're in hospital. I know there was one on the news this morning. I mean, now she was in hospital on a ventilator for almost 67 days, but she survived. But most of them don't stay in hospital that long. So, it's all right saying the hospitals are getting this many people and stuff, but they're releasing them too because they're cured or they're over it or whatever. So, they're making too much out. They're making a mountain out of a molehill, in my opinion. But
well, you get back into the issue that I talked about earlier, which is the lack of funds for the hospital because they're not doing the elective procedures and stuff, right?
yeah,
So if they've got people coming in that have cough, and they can hold them and make money off of them, what do you think they're going to do? So maybe it's a situation too. I'm not saying that this is the case, but certainly there's going to be a percentage of this going on that, people come in and they don't need to stay there for a week, but the hospital keeps them there for a week because the people think they do. And that's more money the hospitals can milk off the insurance company or whoever else to offset their losses.
oh, absolutely. Absolutely. Because as you said, the selective surgeries is where they make their money. So I don't know. It's just, I'm trying to stay positive. I say let it go. I mean, like myself, if you're in a high risk category, as you said, if you're in a high risk category and you're afraid, because say I'm not wearing a mask, and you're afraid I might pass it on, I might have it and pass it on to you, then don't go out. Stay home. It's the way I look at it. I mean, I think you said it, if I catch it and I'm sick and I'm in hospital and say I don't make it, it was my choice. I thought that's what freedom was about, having your choice. Freedom and doing this kind of, to me, we're losing it here in this country. We're losing it. Freedom is not free. Freedom is not without danger. Every time you drive your car, how do you know you're not going to get in an accident? You don't. But you take that chance that you're not going to. That's why you have car insurance for. That's why we have health insurance for. So, you know what I'm saying? It's just, I don't know. I don't know if I'm pissing people off or not, but you're right. It's all about the money. That's the problem. Now it's become political, and it's all about the money. The Democrats, now talking about Democrats, how come they're not being hammered to change their name? Because a Democrat was the biggest racist going in this country. But I just want to throw that out. But, the Democrats want to crash this country, hoping that the people on the fence, they can turn to them for their vote Democrat to get Trump out. For only be a one-term president, and whoever they put in there, totally destroy this country. I believe Trump's going to win again. And when he does, those social warriors are going to absolutely go berserk. I wonder how many riots and stuff are going to happen when that happens. Because I imagine it will. I imagine those nutters will go out and destroy and everything else in the thing of I'm protesting Trump winning the presidency. Of course, they're going to say it's rigged. The Chinese helped him or the Russians helped him, or he won because he wouldn't let us do mail-in voting, So it's all crazy. It really is all absolutely crazy. 2020 is the strangest year in my 63 years that I know of.
Amen. Yeah, it's pretty wild.
Yeah. God knows what's going to happen next.
And we ain't, barely halfway there, right?
Yeah, we just got over the halfway mark. So, got a long way to go yet. So we got less than 100 days to voting time, I believe. So make sure you get out and vote. If you happen to be in a state, like Washington State, it's totally all mail-in ballot. I don't know if it can be rigged or not. I don't know, but they've been doing it that way for years now. Do it that way. Yeah, go on.
Anytime you mail in, here's the problem with with mail in is anytime you mail in, there's a large trust factor there because, how easy is it to say, oh, we didn't get that? I mean, how often does the U.S. Postal Service, another federal run agency, by the way, how often does the U.S. Postal Service lose stuff? There's not a week go by that I have something that didn't get somewhere or something that didn't get here.
Oh, absolutely. Not only that, if you on the news, people's cats and dogs are getting goddamn ballots, and there was somebody whose son has been dead for 8 years got a ballot. What's stopping people from filling those out and sending them in?
Not a thing in the world.
I know.
The thing there is that's such a small percentage, it wouldn't sway the election one way or the other.
It's a small percentage when it's not mandated statewide.
Baltimore City's last special election, there was about 5,000 voters that didn't get their registration, their ballot. So that's not a small percentage that just barely swayed the election. That completely swayed the election.
Yeah. Oh, Sean in the chat said here, I received a mail-in ballot. He lives in Houston, Texas. I received a mail-in ballot application for a dog that died 12 years ago. Well, how do they come up with these names? Anyway, real quick before we carry on, in case people are leaving, it's the quiz from last week. And last week's question was, where is it? Oh, what in the Minority Report? What gun did Tom Cruise use? He was the chief, John Altonton. How you pronounce his name? He used a Beretta 9000S. It had a CZ-like design, slide right inside the frame, and from what I can find out, it was the first polymer handgun Beretta ever made. So that was the answer. And we had 3 entries, and let me hit my draw now button and see who the winner is. Ohio 45 ACP is the winner.
Woohoo!
So congratulations there. Now last week I said I didn't have any swag pack, but people have been gracious and they are sending me some stuff. So I don't normally send out like the stuff for this month. I'll send it out at the end of the month. So the time the end of the month comes, I should have some stuff to make swag packs up.
Send the mail, Rick. Send the mail.
So I appreciate that. Okay. But where I was going with this, so I do have a question for this week, and this one is a tough one. And it was sent. I got it from a subscriber. I'm not sure if he's a subscriber, but on the morning chat, Gavin, his name is. And what I want to know on the Marine Corps. Now, the Marine Corps, good conduct medal. I want to know what the rifle is. Make and model. Okay. On the Marine good conduct medal, I want to know what rifle that is. So there you go. Do your research. It was a tough one. So email me at rickslifeasiseeit@gmail.com or spottedrick@gmail.com. So there we go. So back to the thing. So what were we talking about? Oh, voting, mail-in voting. I mean, I also believe that everybody should have an ID too when you go to the polling booth to say who you actually are.
If it's required for a lot of other things, that's what gets me. So when I don't know, that's an iffy situation. I don't know if we should remove it from being a requirement for other things as well, or say, yeah, okay, we need it for voting because it's for other things. I don't know. I haven't made up my mind on that one completely.
Do any of you guys or anybody in the panel know anyone over the age of 16, 17, whatever the driving age is where you live is, that doesn't have some form of ID?
Yeah, I have known people. Yes,
Were they 90-year-old women, or were they like able-bodied normal people?
usually older people. Yes, and usually minorities. Yes.
All right, because I don't know one single person at all that I've ever met in my life that didn't have an ID, unless, of course, they were caught drinking and driving, and the cops took their ID or they lost their wallet. But I've never met anyone ever that doesn't have some form of ID.
Well, different states and the voting is different, right? And so here in Texas, at least, here in this county, um, all you have to have is as long as you've got your voter ID card, and that's where you can call the courthouse. You can say, "Hey, I need to register to vote." They'll mail you a thing. You fill it out. You send it back, and they'll mail you a card. And as long as you've got that card, you're good here.
Yeah.
Now I don't use the card. I use my driver's license, or sometimes I hand them my license to carry. Just depends because they look almost identical, and I just yank one out. But that's what I use because I can't ever keep up with my voter ID card, and I always have my driver's license or my license to carry, so I always use that. But there's a couple of different ways you can do it here in Texas to basically prove you are who you are.
Yeah. Talking about the driving license, how come like when I go to talking about doctor's offices, if I go to my doctor and he sends me to a specialist now who I've never been to before, so they give me a bunch of paperwork to fill out, then they want my insurance card and an ID to prove who I am. Why? That's what I'm saying. It's the same with the vote thing. So they need to know who I am to make sure I'm the guy who says that I have that insurance. I don't know.
Yeah, it could be insurance fraud if they didn't. Sure.
Yeah, but you could have voter fraud too.
Oh yeah, I mean I don't disagree.
I can go into this booth and say I'm voting, then I can go down the road to another one,
man,
and vote again.
I said it earlier when we were talking about the hospitals, or whether it's Social Security disability, where it's insurance, whatever it might be. Fraud is a big, big, big problem. And when you talk about, especially on the federal government level, but it is in healthcare too. It's huge. You start picking and choosing and picking apart things. I've got a buddy that won a Social Security disability, won a suit, I guess you would call it, with Social Security Disability Administration or whatever. And it was, low 6-figure sum that he ended up winning. But one of the cornerstones of his case that he took before them and all was fraud. And the numbers he laid out, he did years of homework and research on this, was that with Social Security disability, 33%, a third, literally, of Social Security disability payments that went out were fraudulent. 33%.
Oh yeah, I can believe it. Oh, back to the COVID thing. Is Echo in the chat there said my wife had it, and 5 people at her bank contracted it from dealing with customers that had it.
Yeah.
Okay, I understand that's how it happens, but I'm trying not to sound, and it was more than likely terrible, the way she was feeling and everything else. But out of those 5, how many died? I know that sounds cold, but I'm trying to get my point across. That yes, you catch it, you get sick, you get better.
I know a guy, and I'm putting air quotes on "know" here because it's the father of a guy that hangs around the local gun shop a lot, that passed away from complications due to it. Okay, I'm not going to say he died from it. Complications due to it, yes, but it didn't kill him. He had some other underlying issues, and getting that on top of it was not good, right? And yeah. I think that's most of the mortality issues we see with it. That's what it is. So do I know somebody? Yeah, I mean, I know somebody. I've met the dude, shook his hand, talked to him, everything else. Now, having a sister-in-law that's basically a doctor, whatever you call the nurse that's close to it.
Nurse practitioner.
Yeah, yeah, and all. I mean, I again, I know a lot of people. Having my wife work in the prison system with employees and whatever, I know people that have had it. Tons and tons and tons of people that have had it. My brother, as a matter of fact, and this is a weird one. My brother had it. My brother, my niece, and my nephew. He's got a son and a daughter. They all three had it. My brother was horrible. He was like he was just going to die. It was crazy, horrible. Niece and nephew, not so much. It was like, maybe like we had the flu, right? My sister-in-law, who obviously had to take care of them while they had it, never did come down with it.
Yeah, it's strange. Another thing too. I mean, talking about that, where I was going with this, but it just crossed my mind when I earlier talked about, reopening schools in case the teachers are afraid. Look at nurses and doctors wear all that equipment every day. Very few of them catch it. So, and kids don't transmit it anyway. But if you're afraid of getting it from one of your other teacher friends, wear the equipment. As long as you're teaching the kids, is what I say. So, I'm not going to keep repeating myself.
Well, I mean, schools are a breeding ground for crap anyway, is the thing. Oh, yeah. And I mean, you're worried about this, and I mean, look at the whole host of other things you could get,
Well, yeah,
kids picking their nose and scratching their butts and not washing their hands and everything else. Lice. Look at lice in schools. It's horrible, Yeah, it's just the nature. It's just the nature of the school.
And I think you'll find, I'm going to say, I can't remember the exact figure, but out of all even people in the younger age groups that have died from it, if you start looking into it, they had an underlying situation. They might not know they had it.
Yes.
The underlying thing. But when they done the test, the autopsies or whatever, it showed that's what they had.
Yeah, so it's not from it; it's from complications because of it, and that's the way it's not being presented that way to people. Very, very few have passed away because of it, but every single time that something happens, that's the way they word it. Is that they passed away because of it? No, they passed away because of complications due to it. Totally different situation.
Yeah.
I always thought it was funny that they said this was the worst thing that human history has ever seen, and all of us are going to die. But the best way to save yourself is just wash your hands.
Yeah, wash your hands for 20 seconds, at least 20 seconds, minimum.
I think there's probably a few people rolling over in their graves from the dark ages that would disagree that this is the worst thing of all time.
Hell yeah. When you had the bionic plague going through Europe, Okay. Oh, I got a question for you, actually, Clover Tech. I wrote it down here. I got an email from YouTube.
Okay.
Something about YouTube API services are going to change.
Uh-huh.
Is that going to affect us in any way?
No, it shouldn't.
Okay.
I mean, if you're doing things, if you've got certain plugins and automated systems and things that take your YouTube feed, for example, and put it on your website, or maybe it sends it to Discord or does, then yes, I mean, there is some things that you might have to go in and tweak with that. But for the vast majority of people, no, it has no effect. API period has no effect, whether we're talking YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, whatever. If you get something about API, most people can just ignore it.
Hey, Rick, I got something just came up. I got to bounce real quick, but I wanted to thank you for having me and say thank you for joining in, Clover. Always enjoyed these conversations. Have a nice day, everybody in the chat room.
See you later.
See you later, guys. Have a good day.
Yeah, I'm about ready to shut this down anyway, because I've run out of topics here on my list.
Well, that's a good thing.
Oh yeah. I want to thank everybody in the chat for being here. I really do appreciate it. Good conversation going on in there. And you got any plugs or shout outs, Clover?
Me? No, man. Just thanks for everybody that hung out there live and is watching in replay, and support Rick winning where you can.
All right. And I said out there in the chat, thanks for stopping by on a Saturday afternoon. I really do appreciate it. And I will be back on Wednesday with Shooting with Disabilities because I got some questions. So we can make a topic out of it. So I want to say thank you. And I will see you all on Wednesday. So good afternoon, good evening, whatever you are. Thanks a lot.
Peace.
All right.